residential home sales. It's just a measurement of the sale of newly built homes. This sale is defined as a sale of the new house which occurs with the signing of a sales contract or the acceptance of a deposit. So basically, this just means that someone, an individual, a family, whoever, has sat down and they've signed a sales contract for a new home. That home could be at any stage of construction. So it could be a hole in the ground, it could just be ground, it could be a bunch of trees, not a house yet. Keep that in mind because this is an indicator that's leading some economic data and differs from something like the existing home sales, which we'll get into a little bit later. This data is provided by the U.S. Census Bureau out here. So when you're looking, ooh, forgive me. So when you're looking at new home sales, right? The big picture is super important. We talked a little bit about Michael Burry just now, where Michael Burry was looking at a ton of economic data in order to short the housing market. He wasn't looking at one piece of the puzzle or another. He was really looking at everything that you see here. So the existing home sale data is released within days of another another event in existing home sales and new home sales. Existing home sales includes existing homes and is measured slightly differently. With existing sales, the majority of transactions are reported when the sales contract is closed. That means almost everything is done. Everybody has dotted their I's and crossed their T's. Whereas for new home sales, there could just be a hole in the ground. You could be 9 months from having a new house. So the new home sales indicator is more of a leading indicator as opposed to the existing home sales being a lagging indicator. As always, context is king here, right? So the health of the housing market is depend on a variety of different events that you see here. This is just a collection of a few that characters like Michael Burry would have been looking at back in 2008 to determine whether or not there is a housing crash. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at any of these housing data. The headline data here is really just the amount of new homes that are sold, and it's seasonally adjusted. So what we're looking at is 683,000 sold for our last new residential sales report. What we're looking at today is slightly higher. But this is a really good example of how a headline figure just shows you one number, but there are additional details that you can look at, right? So the U.S. Census Bureau does a really good job of showing us this change over time as to how many new home sales we've seen month over time using this chart. They also show the amount of new home for sales and the median sales price. But when you're looking at the event and you look at the number that's expected, everything is just based on the amount of new homes that are being sold. The next release comes out today, so please be careful. This is something that could move markets if it's a really big miss, if it's a really big beat. If it's not, then it really won't move markets in too many ways. This isn't the focus where everything is inflationary based, as we've been discussing. But this is really important, guys. This type of information is incredibly important for the health of the economy as a whole. Now, this is a really weird situation. Part of the reason why I want to talk about it is, we've seen a lot of recessionary pressures. The markets have really been struggling outside of 5 or 6 stocks that we've been discussing. If you're not Apple, Microsoft, or Netflix, chances are you're down right now. And when those types of big, large cap stocks are down, although outside of the 6 that are performing well, usually you see something like new home sales fall off. We've seen the exact opposite, though. There are a variety of reasons for this, but the core of the matter and why it's important right now is we are in a questionable period. This is why some people question whether or not we're in a recession at all. We do see some new home sales get incredibly low back here in July of 2022. But look at the next month. Immediately it pops up, then it pops down. We see a little bit of what we call a consolidation. We're traders. And then it takes off. 683,000 new homes sold in last month's figure. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at these indicators, trying to figure out where opportunities are to potentially short something. Maybe don't short the residential new homes market, right? Now, I wanted to show you guys a comparison to 2008. We've discussed 2008 a lot. It's the closest data that we have, right? And it's a very similar situation in many ways from an inflationary standpoint. Look at what happened in January of 2007 to roughly August of 2009. This chart is much clearer than this chart. Now, this is only a few months, but you can already see here things are up and down and up. When you're looking at these numbers, this is incredibly clear. We have 891. We never get that high again. This is January 20 of 2007. And then in August, we end at about 377,000 new home sales reported. This is a much clearer understanding of what's going on. The picture is super clear, and it would be much easier as traders to find opportunities to short different things, specifically REIT stocks or mutual funds, things of that nature that have something to do with the housing market. Right now, it's just not that clear. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward and trying to understand what's going on here. Don't be quick to say, I am Michael Burry. I can get these credit default swaps. I can hit $1 billion. And chances are it's not true, especially because the situation is just different. And again, context is king. Context is always king. Another portion of the puzzle that's important is the median sales price. The new home sales usually comes out with this data as well, as I showed you guys in the headline figure. That report that comes out just below the headline figure shows you the median sales price, and it's really questionable right now. This figure is going to show you what it's been. This is 98 all the way up to August of 2009, and this is 2012 all the way up to today. This man right here, Jerome Powell, really wants these things to slow down. He's the head of the Federal Reserve. We talk about him week after week after week. He said recently in his most recent announcement that the acceleration in housing prices that we're seeing should help bring sort of prices more closely in line with rents and other housing market fundamentals, and that's a good thing. And he's right. In a way, we have seen median housing prices start to fall off a little bit, but it really is just a little bit. You see that small dip there? It's really not very convincing. We've still jumped from $450,000 from 207 over the course of 15 years. That's still incredibly aggressive in terms of the speed at which housing has been costing U.S. citizens. And this isn't just true of the U.S., this is true around the globe. It's part of the reason why we've seen so many inflationary pressures. So as things begin to cool, we want that median number to fall, and we want rents to fall. As to whether or not they will, it's very hard to say. As I said before, the new home sales figures have been inconsistent, but they have been growing a bit over time, as opposed to the 2008 figures, which were clearly falling off. When things are clearly falling off like that, it's easier to control the price because obviously there appeared to have been less demand, more supply. Things were falling off in the existing home sales space, and it was very similar in new home sales. However, less demand automatically means less supply because less people are signing sales contracts, less homes are being built, less building materials are being purchased. So the prices of things are falling and falling considerably. I'll do a full breakdown of how our current recessionary period or how our current era is different from 2008 and how this isn't like exactly what was happening with Bear Stearns, although we have a very similar situation with our banking system showing repeated failures. I still want to talk a little bit about that, but for now, this is all that I have for you guys today. As always, thank you so much for your patience, and I appreciate you guys